Understanding how to manage money and where your money is going is really the first step when it comes to building some long-term wealth and using some of that money that you are saving or some of that money that you are collecting in order to invest it so that that money starts working for you. But how do we actually get there? You see, there's always this question of, if I made more, could I invest more? But sometimes if you flip that around, because we've seen a bunch of studies that have come out and have stated, well, technically, if you make more, you possibly end up spending more. So there's really no difference between somebody who's just making it by $35,000 a year. Obviously, in some parts of the country, that's not a lot of money, versus someone who's making $200,000 a year. You would think, depending on what side of the board you're on, you would think that the person that has $200,000 a year, is making $200,000 a year, is living far better or is far more comfortable than the person making 35. But it all comes down to how you are actually managing your money. You see, there is a quote, or there is a saying that I live by. Not sure who came up with it, not sure if I came up with it, not sure if possibly I read it somewhere, but it goes something along the lines of this: don't just plan to make money with a plan. And it's really one of my battle cries, and one of the things that I've really started to hone in on as I continue to grow my portfolio. And I wanted to share that with you. 5 simple practical rules that you can use right now to implement when you are generating either money from your side hustle, from your business, or if you are practically just working a 9-to-5 job and you are in your career, right? So all of these 5 rules are going to apply to you. And by the way, you can implement all of these right now as soon as you finish watching this video. Now, regardless of how much money you make, again, whether it's $30,000 a year, $100,000 a year, $200,000 a year, even if you're making $1 million a year, set priorities around the income that you are making. You first want to find out, look, am I looking to get out of debt? Am I looking to open up a business? Am I looking to save up for a home? Am I looking to invest more? Am I looking to put my kids through school? Am I looking to maybe narrow down some of the spending that I have? Start setting priorities and targets around the income that you make, because this is ultimately going to help you extend that dollar that you're earning every month. There's nothing worse than having more month than money every single month. When it comes to saving money, it's not just about, okay, I'm going to assign 10% of my income from my bank accounts over into my savings, because you start to wonder, okay, what am I saving for? There's really no priority around it, and it starts to get a little bit monotonous and it starts to get a little bit boring. And then at that point, if there's no target, or at least the way that maybe I'm wired, and maybe if you're wired this way as well, if there's really no destination for where you're going, or if there's no maybe deadline set, then you're going to maybe get a little bit more relaxed or a little bit more eased when it comes to saving some of that money that you're working so hard to keep in your bank, rather than just flushing it down the toilet and exchanging it with something or someone else that doesn't deserve the value that you're pretty much handing over. Now, this does lead us into the necessary evil that everyone needs to do with their finances. I don't care if, again, you're making $1 million a year or if you're barely making $1,000 every 2 months. You have to set a budget around your money and around your spending. Remember, budgeting isn't about what you can't spend. Budgeting is about what you are allowing yourself to spend. Meaning, this actually gives you freedom. A lot of people like to think of a budget kind of like, okay, I'm restricting myself, or I'm not allowing myself to have fun. But in the contrary, this means that you're actually putting timelines and you're actually putting guardrails around your money, saying, you know what, I can do this with my money, i.e. go to the movies, i.e. obviously whenever a movie theater open back up, i.e. go out for some fine dining, i.e. spend it on jewelry, clothes, whatever it is that kind of gets your juices going. Maybe it's on the next best iPhone or Android phone, whatever it is that you want to spend that on, but you're choosing to maybe not spend it, at least at not this specific moment, until maybe you hit a certain dollar amount, or maybe you choose to treat yourself. This creates discipline in your spending, which then creates discipline in the way that you decide to invest, which we're going to talk about a little bit more here in just a second. Because as soon as you start budgeting and knowing where every single dollar is going, and by the way, if you're wondering how, maybe what type of platform you can use or how you can go about managing your funds and setting priorities around them, you can use either an Excel spreadsheet if you're techie and you really want to take a look at every single dollar that you're spending, or if you're more like me and you like for some of that work to just be laid out and you kind of just label the items as you go, you can either use the Clio app, which you can pretty much find it in the App Store, or you can also use Every Dollar, which again, that's a more popular choice, especially if you follow some more regimented budgeting styles and tips, kind of like what you would find with Dave Ramsey. Before you even start investing, and maybe someone would work this backwards, but this is how I went around this myself personally, is I would rather have you save $1,000 or see you save $1,000 in your savings before you go out and you start investing, or before you go out and you really start splurging and you really start spending some of this money that you could be saving for a rainy day. Now, that was my target when I first started saving. You can possibly decide not to splurge, or you can decide not to invest any money until you maybe have 3, 4, even 5 months of reserves in the bank in case of not just a rainy day, but a rainy season, right? Because we've all been through some of those. Whenever, let's say you feel like things are starting to pick back up, all of a sudden, maybe you got some bad news that your car broke down. Now that piece is gonna cost you maybe $600 plus the labor, or maybe you're behind on your mortgage payment because maybe you received some reduction in your hours, especially with how everything's kind of been wishy-washy with the pandemic. Well, guess what? You have a bit more ease of mind when you have at least $1,000 in your bank, because we do know that Americans, especially now that was really exposed, are only 2 paychecks away from going homeless. This is why, and it's sad, but this is why we have so many people that are relying on rental forgiveness and these rental programs, because unfortunately, some of us were never taught to save enough money for these, not just these rainy days, but these rainy seasons. And in addition to that, sometimes we do need that cushion so that we can perform better, not only at our jobs, but in our life, in our day-to-day, because it does help bring some of that stress and some of that anxiety down, which ultimately would creep into the way that you decide to invest when and if you decide to invest. Now, the second to last rule that you should implement whenever you are managing your money is stop the leaks. Take a look at what you are paying right now. Pull out that app, pull out that Excel spreadsheet, and just itemize everything. Okay, I'm paying, let's say, $15 for a subscription base. I'm paying $100 for gas. I'm paying $300 for my utilities. I'm paying $500, let's say, a month for my health insurance, or for my car insurance, for my pet insurance, right? Whatever type of insurance it is that you're paying, take a look at every single item. Now that you have that in there, find out what the leaks are. The leaks for you are going to be different than for me, right? For me, I may want to have a better or a higher premium, because maybe I take my health, not that we don't take our health all seriously, but for me, maybe that's a bit more of a priority. Maybe I can cut out on some of these subscription-based services that I don't necessarily find the need. And maybe for you, it's the other way. Maybe for you is you have a nice car that you really want to take care of, so you want to have the nicer insurance on that. But you can maybe go out without that extensive or that, exclusive package for your cell phone bill, that maybe you don't even use the mobile hotspot. Or when it comes to your cable company, look, I'm only looking at the same 4 channels: ESPN, CNBC, maybe you're looking at the local news, and maybe ABC, right? Maybe you have like your favorite show. Maybe you're watching The Bachelor, right? And you just want to keep those 4 channels, and the other 200 something channels is going to lower $100 into your cable bill. Maybe those are some leaks that you can stop right there. I can't tell you how much money you can save without even raising your income, without looking for a second job, without having to pick up some OT at your gig, without having to pick up that side hustle, although I'm not against some extra hard work for some extra cash. But before you take a look at those options, see where you're leaking first, and then from there reassess and reevaluate, because you're going to be having some extra money left over that you can then invest in the future. Now, rule number 5 is huge, because this rule right here is going to be utilized for your investing. You are going to use it for your debt payments. You are going to use it to even improve your credit and make sure that your credit score continues to get built up, or stays at above that 750, 800, wherever it is that you have it right now. And this is going to be automate every single payments. Put your payments on auto draft with a checking and an account number. Now, I know that this maybe sounds contrary to what you've been taught, or maybe as compared to what you already do, where you like to pay for things with cash, or maybe if you write it out on a calendar. But look, what if just one day maybe just one day, right? You had a lot on your plate, your cell phone died. We're just thinking worst case scenarios here. And then all of a sudden you had a payment due that month, but then maybe your job didn't pay you. There was an issue with HR, or maybe they underpaid you a little bit, and maybe they didn't plug in that maybe that OT that you had, or maybe there was an issue with the billing. If maybe you have your own business and maybe you didn't get paid by that customer like you thought you would, and maybe that check didn't clear until the following day. Here's what ends up happening. If those funds aren't in that checking account when you go to get it off of a debit card, then what's going to end up happening is it's going to get kicked back to you, and it's going to come up as a late payment to the credit card company. Now, another issue with that you can have is, let's say if you are looking to invest, and let's say that if it's out of sight, it's out of mind. This is how we see it. And let's say that you go to invest, you feel that you can put $200 every month, but then something happens where you just forget. You maybe had a night out on the town, and then you forget to invest the money that you ended up spending. Now, again, this goes back to discipline, but one of the ways to remove the temptation from having to use that money, or even seeing that money in your account and it feels like it hurts whenever you're either paying for that credit card, or which you should be anyways, by the way, especially if you want a good credit score, or let's say if you are looking to invest, is having it automated, because again, if it's out of sight, it's out of mind. Now, there's really two, I can say, apps that I would recommend if you wanted to have some of that extra money, especially if you're starting out, have some of that extra cash invested. You can use Acorns, where, just a quick example, let's say that you spend $4 on coffee, they'll round up that purchase, let's say to $4.50 or $5, and then that additional funds that's left on that purchase, they'll just go ahead and invest it into the stocks of your choice and into your portfolio. It's a really cool it's a really cool what I call innovative way of investing money, which doesn't really feel like you're investing, because it feels like you're spending to invest. But again, it is a cool way to get started. And then you also have M1 Finance, which I use also personally myself. You can also find the link to that down in the bottom. If you deposit some money into that account, you can get up to $30 that you can use toward buying stocks. So consider it kind of like watching this video, but getting paid $30 just for having watched this video. You can find the link to that down in the description. So M1 Finance allows you to set up these pies, and then you can automate, let's say every 2 weeks, or let's say on the 15th of every month, you know that you're going to be coming into a lump sum of money. I want to deposit $100, $200, $1,000, whatever it is that you want to automate. That way you can continue to grow your portfolio. So there you have it. Super simple rules that we can use and implement right now as soon as you finish watching this video. There's no need to overcomplicate some of these things. I know that sometimes we'll watch these videos or read these books or check out these articles, and our head just starts to spin. But just remember these 5 rules as you are starting your journey of investing and growing your portfolio, and if you are looking to have more money at the end of the month, every single month. So there you have it. If you found value in this content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Join the official community. Don't forget that anytime we're not posting on here, we're posting over on the Inside with Irv show. So if you like what we have going on over here, you'll love what we have going on over there. And I want to thank all of the newest members in our exclusive group, which you can find the link to join down in the description as well, where we cover behind the scenes tools and resources to get your financials game right and get your credit where it needs to be. Once again, I appreciate you guys watching. Until next time, everyone, I will see you in the next video.